So it's been a little while since I did a training vlog, so I thought I would do a short little one, kind of talk about things, give a little bit of an update. The last training vlog, I was talking about how I thought I hurt my hip, wasn't really sure, was gonna feel it out. My hip is, like, it's not, like, catastrophically messed up, like, in terms of, like, affecting my day-to-day, but I just, like, every time I do any type of exercise where I'm fairly heavily loaded and I'm opening up at the hip a lot, so like squats, and like front squats, back squats, and to like a small extent weightlifting. The weightlifting doesn't seem to bother it too much, but things seem to bother my hip, and I've been trying not to do them. So I've been doing a ton of deadlifting because with deadlift you don't open up at the hip at all. Like in terms of like obviously you're hinging at the hip, but I mean like you're not opening up your knee like outward, right? So if you're like this, you're not any of this. It's just like, and so I have my program is like largely based off of feel right now, which is the first time I've done it in a long time, and I've actually just been getting crazy good results. So I'm kind of inclined to just keep doing things off of feel. Overall, my volume I'm working is lower, but I'm putting up pretty good gains in terms of like the one arm lifts that have me quite surprised. I took a long time to like think about what accessories I should do late last year, and like to try and approach what I thought my weaknesses were, which one of them was like the hand strength. And I've been working on that, and I actually hit my goal for the year on bench press, and it was like, I think it was my reach goal of 185 pounds, and I hit that, and it's only month 5, and so that's pretty I'm pretty happy about that. And 190 doesn't feel like impossible or untenable, and so those have been going really well. So the hip's not doing too well. I can't squat, which is really frustrating because squat's my favorite lift. And so I haven't been able to do it, but perhaps that's a good thing in some sense, because I often neglect, I think, my deadlift and my bench, and now those are the ones I can do, so I've been doing a lot more of that. The gains on like deadlift and bench are a lot slower, but that makes sense. Bench press, I've been doing it somewhat seriously, like, maybe like 8 months now. I forget when I first started doing it, but like I haven't been doing it that long, but I just like I was stuck at 160 pounds for a long time, and then now I'm having this wave of newbie gains, and I think it's really on the back of having this really strong control with your hand and not losing the weight like this. I don't know what this is called because this is supination, pronation, like, was it flexion and extension? And I don't know what this like left-right business is, but I've been doing a lot of accessories to try and strengthen that specifically, because it feels like once I start to go a little bit here, then the elbow goes, and then the shoulder goes. Like you fail at the whatever, you have like 3 points, right? Your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder. And if any of those 3 points like fail, you just fail the whole lift on the bench press. And so, or thinking about it like that kind of, I think is a good way to conceptualize. You actually even have more joints, right? You also have like your waist and the hips and the knees, but like it's primarily the thing that's really loaded up in a way that's difficult is your hand that's holding the weight, obviously, relative to like if I'm trying to bench press 190, right, I can squat 600 pounds, so it's not it's not approaching like the upper limit of like my lower body capabilities, but it still tests them. And so if you're not extra stable with the lower body, then I could see that being a problem. It's not a problem for me because I have a lot of lower body strength, but like you still have to like follow the entire chain of like how the force is being transferred, right? Because it's when you're holding the weight, it's transferred to your wrist transfers it to your elbow, transfers to your shoulder, transfers to your core as a total, transfers to your hips, your knees, your ankles, and then finally your feet, and then the floor, right? And so if any part of that chain is messed up, the whole lift's messed up. And so what I've been focusing on, as I said before, is because this is a lot of how I fail. I walk out with the bent press, because that's how I set up my bent press, because it seems less hard on the gym equipment. And I'm not sure if it's better or worse way to set up. I fail a lot of times walking out, losing control with the hand, and then starting the press in an already compromised position. And so I think that strengthening the hand has also done a lot. There's also just a fundamental problem with bent press is like, so for the most part in any, like what the scientific literature on like strength sports suggests is that, the best way to increase your strength in anything is just to increase your muscle mass in the muscles that move it, which sounds like it's almost a bit facetious to point out, but the best way, you have to have some sort of high volume hypertrophy sort of thing going on and really like attack the muscles that are involved. And with the bent press in particular, it seems incredibly difficult to do high volume type of work with the bent press, just because of how, and like maybe evaluating volume on the bent press is just like difficult. So the bent press, it takes a really long time to do, so you have a lot of time under tension. So maybe you could even consider one rep like 4 reps or something, just because it takes so long. But putting that aside for a moment, it is hard to go from up here to come back down in a controlled way when you are using a barbell. It's very easy with a kettlebell, because the way the kettlebell weight like kind of sits or is distributed is much easier. But like with the barbell, you just like lose it behind yourself, right? So the question is okay, how do we attack volume? Also, I feel like it feels very hard to like just try and do a ton of bent presses as a means for hypertrophy for the bent press. And so I asked myself, okay, how can we like compartmentalize and deconstruct the lift and get volume done in accessories that are sufficiently similar to the bent press that you're going to get a good amount of carryover, while simultaneously allowing you to actually train large volumes. So for example, I don't know if I've posted a video of this, but like one of the things I'm doing is javelin press, which you hold the weight like a javelin. And so you have, it's training your abdominals at like the top, like when you break, right? And then it's also training this left-right, doing it without any type of wrist wraps, because you are, a really easy way to fail on javelin press is coming too far forward or going too far back. And then there's, with the way the barbell's situated, once you tilt, like, I don't know, maybe more than 20 degrees, you just like lose the weight kind of. And so, but you can just crank out a ton of javelin press, right? And then windmills is another one that's like really good. And then I've also been doing like a lot of forearm stuff, like one with the sledgehammer, but I also like reverse forearm curls with an easy bar. Seems to really target the way you like, so at the start of the lift, this is another thing I've noticed, or this might partially be because I'm the way I walk out the weight, but at the start of the lift, you're like curling the hand in and you're trying to keep the weight close to you, right? And then as you bend low under it, right, then you are start extending, you switch from flexion to extension as you twist under the weight, and as you get the bar loaded over your off shoulder and you start actually like pressing it instead of dipping under it, you get this point where you're like trying to engage an extension, and this is an easy spot to lose control of the weight in terms of your hand. And I think that it's extension, but it's also like a little bit of twist, because you're trying to, the outside portion of your hand, right, the one without a thumb, you're trying to tilt that, you're trying to keep that high, right, and as you twist back, and not fail like this, right, because it's much easier to fail like this than it is to fail towards your thumb, because your thumb gives you so much control. And so what I like about easy bar curls is when you're rotating up, they force you to really ratchet up on the outside portion of your hand. And so this is an example of one of the exercises I'm doing to strengthen my hands for bench press specifically. And I've just been really just shocked that I was able to go from 160 to 185, with only just a couple months of, like, I really felt like I hit a wall with 160, and I just couldn't do 165, and then just doing a bunch of hand stuff, and then suddenly I could hit it. It also might just be like, I was chronically overtrained or something, and now that I can't squat, it's harder for me to overtrain, and so I'm just like fresher all the time, and I just get in more high quality volume. So that's why, for the moment, in regards to what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to continue to not structure my workouts except for just kind of a general format where I'm going to do a block of 2 days, and then it's going to be like an explosive day and a slow day. Explosive day includes the weightlifting. I'm bringing back in one-arm snatch, which I haven't been doing since I hurt my hip. I think it's either that or squats, which is how I hurt my hip. I'm really not sure between the two, but I'm bringing that back in. And so, like, explosive day is focusing on weightlifting and plyometrics, and then kind of a slower day where doing bench and deadlift. And I think that this is a decent way to structure, trying to train for Supertotal. And then on the explosive day, I'll be training one-arm snatch and or like different one-arm lift maybe, but probably predominantly one-arm snatch. And then on the slow day, I'll be training bench press and then maybe Turkish get-ups, but primarily bench press, something like this. And maybe I'll just like rotate it where I'm just going like 2 days of the main one and then 1 day of Turkish get-ups, and then that averages out to every 6 days total. I'm doing 2 of each. It's a bit hard to try and fit in all this technical work on these one-arm lifts, but there's like, seems like I get a tremendous amount of carryover from one lift to the other. And that's probably just because I'm not like hyper. My form, I think, is kind of dirty in all of them. I just think I have strong obliques or something. And so that's why I'm able to do good or well or fairly well on these lifts. But in terms of, and maybe I'll, if you got to the end of this video, which so far it seems like no one watches these vlogs, and this is more just a way of me organizing my thoughts, and you are interested in specifically some of the hand work I do for the bench press, let me know in the comments, and I will try and, put something together. I don't think, in terms of like getting attention, it's visually impressive to watch some guy like go like this with like a 45-pound weight with like on an easy bar. Like, that just has to be like the weakest looking thing you could possibly do. So I'm not trying to if there's no interest, I'm less interested in trying to post these things. But as it stands now, not preparing for any competition. The hips continues to bother me a little bit. It just feels good for like a couple weeks, and then I test something out and try and push it a little bit, and then it hurts again, and I don't. I'm a little frustrated, but I am crushing it in some ways, and so I just don't, I guess, care that much that the hip's hurting. Perhaps I should care more. especially because it seems like I'm starting to hit a wall with the bent press and getting stuck at 190. I think I failed it like 5 or 6 times now, but I almost hit it once, and I mean like real close. So those videos will probably be forthcoming. I try and keep them spaced out so I can post a decent amount every week. But yeah, I think that's about it for now in regards to an update. I guess like I'm cutting weight right now, but it's like really slow progress. I like ballooned up to 310 and now I'm down to like 295. Ideally we're cutting 10% of my body weight in 10 weeks, which is 31 pounds total, but it looks like I'm starting to fall behind schedule. If I cut like 20 pounds in the 10 weeks, that's probably also still good. I think I've talked about weight loss a lot. It's obviously something I like struggle with, but I'm interested in. Conceptually, I understand how to do it. It's a discipline thing. And so, yeah, the idea is cut for 10 weeks, try to cut 10% body weight, and then coast for 5 weeks, try and maintain, and then get back on a cut again. Something just to this effect. If I ever want to compete, I need to get in a weight division that's I can be competitive in. Although increasingly, like, competition just doesn't look that great because I'm like just kind of digging a trench to nowhere in some sense, because there's no competition that is exactly like what I'm training for, which is obviously general strength. Because weightlifting and powerlifting specifically, which is what I would compete in, the bar is always symmetrically loaded, or the weight is always symmetrically loaded, and I just don't think that this is accounts for strength in anything resembling a complete way. And then I don't like strongman because it's not there's no like standardized competition. Like strongman, you have asymmetric loading and you get a lot more variety, but I don't like strongman because the events change and you're not always training for like the same thing that's supposed to be a reflection of strength, which is why I'm like I train the fast strength, with the weightlifting, and the slow strength with the powerlifting, and the asymmetric, both fast and slow, with the one arm snatch, the bent press, the Turkish get up, and then eventually I want to add the one arm clean and jerk, which will bring it up to a total of 9 lifts, and with 2 explosive one arm lifts and 2 slow one arm lifts, and then just if you look at all those lifts, almost all of them are about getting the weight overhead except for the powerlifting movements. And so that's just maybe it's stacked too much in that direction, but I also kind of think that if you're going to have a symbolic representation of conquering a weight, that putting it above your head is a pretty good one. There's actually a ton of ways you can make a weight look lighter than putting it above your head, but like in terms of things that are like viscerally a demonstration that you command like control over it, putting it over your head is pretty good. Obviously, like just keeping it outstretched at arm's length for an extended period of time is much harder than putting it overhead, no matter like what it is. But and so just kind of what I should do is I'm keeping unstructured now, but the end of June is kind of like a date where my plan is I kind of want to roughly do a peak around then, even though like I'm not that structured. Like I'm in a high volume phase and I'm slowly moving towards a high intensity phase, and in that sense it's structured, but it's not. I don't have everything written down beforehand, and I'm just doing a lot of it based off feel. But I am trying to, at the end of June, go for maxes then. But I'm being pretty flexible in this. And after the end of June, I think I might take like a 2-week break and do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu again for 2 weeks as like a kind of off-season thing. if I do that, I might try and make some videos of bench pressing or Turkish get upping some people from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, because I trust that they can be partners in that without getting themselves injured, or without me injuring them, I suppose. And I think videos of me putting people overhead with one arm would be rather amusing. And so that's not why I would be doing it. I'd be doing it because I'm interested in it, and I think it's a good change of pace. But like, maybe that's just a horrible idea with the hip, actually, because there's just a ton of opening at the hip and people opening your hip for you. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say right now. It's dealing with an injury is tough. I always wish I could squat, but it is pretty nice that I'm just getting to print PRs on these one arm lifts pretty aggressively. Maybe these are what are hurting my hip or something, but I don't think so. Anyways, have a good one.